You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of August 15th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
And we are recording this live from the Cornfield Resistance, where, when it comes to stories about river trips and politicians, we bet you've never heard this one. It's The Professional Left with Drift Glass and Blue Gal.
This is a really cool story about Abraham Lincoln. From the Upper Sangamon River Conservancy, we learn what Abraham Lincoln did when the river water ran too low. Quote, "The town of New Salem was formed when James Rutledge and John Cameron were granted permission to build a mill dam on the Sangamon River. This somewhat simple dam was built of two elongated wooden trough-like structures filled with rocks, which diverted a focused outlet of water to one side where they built their water wheel. Much of the Sangamon's water flowed right over top of this low-head dam, creating a serious river hazard, as it remained nearly invisible from upstream. Only 16 miles into their 1,600-plus mile journey, Lincoln and his crew approached New Salem. As they did, their flatboat jolted to a stop with a sickening thud. They had found the Rutledge-Cameron Dam. With part of the bow pressing forward out over the dam and the stern being forced downward, the river crept up onto the rear deck, and started flowing into the lower hold, sinking it further. As this happened, the boat became heavier and the gunwales or sides bent down dangerously. A crowd from New Salem formed on the bank to gawk as the tragedy unfolded, just as a striking 6'4" stranger took charge."
Crowds will gather throughout all times, places in history. Crowds will gather at the site of an accident.
They will, just to gawk at it. What's going to happen next? Lincoln commandeered an empty flatboat, and they swiftly started to transfer cargo. As they did so, Abe augured a hole into their flatboat's hull up near the bow. As they continued to unload the cargo and the load lightened, the stern of their flatboat sprang upwards, sloshing the water inside up toward the bow, where it drained out the hole. How did he know to do that?
Because Abe Lincoln, goddammit.
Yeah. The load lightened even further, and the crew was able to pry the flatboat over top of the dam and safely on down the river. Abe became a local hero among New Salem residents, who were suitably impressed by this singular young man and his cleverness. Unquote.
Yeah, but wait, Blue Gal, there's more. Would you believe there's yet another story about local boy made good, Abraham Lincoln, Springfield lad, and river navigation, and that it led to Lincoln being the only U.S. president to hold a patent. This is from the Brain Food podcast, which reports, quote, constantly traveling the Sangamon River. By the way, we're in Sangamon County, so this is right where we live.
We cross the Sangamon River regularly, yes.
So constantly traveling the Sangamon River and often getting stuck, Lincoln finally did something about it. Working on an invention to solve the problem between congressional sessions, he finally completed and submitted a patent for it days after finishing his term as a congressman. Submitted on March 10th, 1849, Lincoln's patent, U.S. patent number 6469, was titled Buoying Vessels Over Shoals, and as you might have guessed from the title, was a patent for improvement in order to help boats pass over sandbars by adding to, quote, adjustable buoyant air chambers to the bottom of the boat. Lincoln also created a model of his invention to accompany the patent. Working with a Springfield mechanic, he whittled out a model of a ship with its buoying device included, unquote. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Sitting in his law office, inventing stuff, whittling out a model and submitting it and getting a patent for it.
It's very Jeffersonian in a way.
It is. Absolutely is.
Same kind of mindset.
A self-taught guy, and his experience as flat boat captain, carrying stuff down, splitting logs, not exactly a Harvard-educated lawyer. But he did this stuff. He became a lawyer. He became a congressman. He became president. And the rest is literally history. Now, let's jump ahead about 180 years to see how a modern Republican handles river travel when the water is low. This is from the Canadian Broadcasting Company. God save Canada. Quote, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance security detail had an Ohio River's water level raised last week to accommodate a kayaking trip he and his family took to celebrate his 41st birthday on August 2nd. The U.S. Secret Service said it requested the increased water flow for the Little Miami River, first reported by The Guardian, to ensure motorized watercraft and emergency personnel could operate safely while protecting the Republican vice president whose home is in Cincinnati. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said its Louisville district temporarily increased outflows from the Caesar Creek Lake in southwest Ohio into the Little Miami to support safe navigation of U.S. Secret Service personnel. Unquote. Isn't that nice? They raised a whole river.
This is like his 15th vacation this year.
Oh yeah, and they all involve shutting down facilities, blocking crowds, so he alone can use Disneyland.
Yeah, whatever.
Just getting off to Scotland.
It's an awful lot of fun he and his family are having.
Yeah, and it's weird because
he's supposed to be at work.
I seem to recall when there was another vice president, a black lady whose name escapes me at the moment. Every little thing she did was scrutinized and
going on a
out,
run was like, down. How dare she?
How dare you? But I guess now that we live in the a fascist state where the dear leader can do no wrong, this is what we look at now. So anyway, let's move along, Blue Gal.
Now let's look at this week in Jeebus land, where Driftglass, there is serious trouble brewing.
I heard.
And Brother Charlie Pierce at Esquire Magazine has all the details.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, this is Charlie Pierce writing in Esquire. Good Lord, there seems to be fever in the funk house now. Very important White House aide, Laura Loomer, and very important Congressperson Marjorie Taylor Greene seem to have had something of a falling out.
Aww.
Over what I have no idea, and I couldn't care less, could you? But Loomer has achieved escape velocity and is still throttling up. This is from her shitter account. By the way, he calls her a very important White House aide. She's not allowed in the White House.
Right.
The other aides won't let her in because she cray.
Yeah, she cray, and she has the ear of the prez. So
yeah,
you know.
And I think some of us have an idea as to why she has the ear of the prez. But here's what she had to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Quote, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a homewrecker. Her narcissistic personality disorder has made her believe that she is President Trump's successor. She truly believes that her word has more weight than Donald Trump's, and her narcissism has rotted her brain like a cancer. It's now making her rip our country apart. This is a woman who allowed her sexual impulses to tear her family apart. She wants to now tear our country apart to try to steal Trump's movement away from him. Don't let this homewrecker become a country wrecker. Trump would benefit from putting her in her place and reminding this rabid dog who is the boss and the real leader of MAGA. It's Trump, not MTG. It's called the Trump administration, not the hump administration. Go find a chair to hump like the dog in heat you've always been at Marjorie Taylor Greene's handle. Okay. You will never take over Trump's movement. You will not succeed in dividing his base, you narcissistic witch. We won't let the homewrecker become a country wrecker. We will destroy you before we ever allow you to try to ruin the MAGA movement the same way you ruined your family. Unquote.
And this is how they talk to each other. This is how MAGA talks. This is their vocabulary. It isn't always directed at Marjorie Taylor Greene, but this is the kind of constant slander they use. But wait, Blue Gal, there's more.
Yes, quote, the lying fake Christian whore, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is lying about me again. She is so jealous that she is fading into irrelevancy after she couldn't secure an endorsement for her Senate campaign. She claims I have lied about her and smeared her. I posted receipts for everything I said. She refuses to address those receipts. She has provided no evidence of her claims about me that she made from her congressional account, an abuse of power and certainly an ethics violation. She also claims she is one of Trump's most loyal supporters. Here she is bashing Trump recently. Does this look like loyalty to you? Accusing Trump of not keeping his campaign promises and lying, saying he got us into World War III? She is one dumb bitch. Probably the dumbest bitch in Congress and definitely not loyal. Just ask her ex-husband, Perry.
Yeah.
Unquote.
And it just went on and on and on.
Yep. Quote, you call yourself a Christian while you wreck your marriage like a whore and lie out of bloated horse face, which has permanent damage from your years of alleged steroid use, which is why you look like a Neanderthal. Unquote.
Meanwhile,
now, I kind of hate Marge. I'm not a fan of hers, but I've never said anything like this on social media about her.
Well, you're not in the club, honey. You don't get to say things like this. Again, this is just how they talk. This is, and they were taught by Trump that it's okay to talk like this in public now, and so they do. Meanwhile,
former Mean Girl MAGA sidekick Lauren Boebert is reduced to trying to make fetch happen.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
In case you had forgotten all about Lauren Boebert, and lucky you, just Google Congresswoman hand job. So how did this all-out hellbeast shovel fight start? For that, we turn to the New Republic. Quote, this time the girls are fighting over a Medal of Honor recipient who tackled a suicide bomber. Wow.
Yeah.
Whom Loomer has excoriated for the crime of being a Democrat.
Yep.
There are probably so many people who the Army could honor who have received the Medal of Honor, but who did the Army choose to honor instead on their social media page under the Trump admin? Florent Groberg, a Democrat who spoke at the 2016 DNC, where he campaigned against Trump in support of Hillary Clinton and was praised by Obama.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Laura Loomer continues to tweet, you'd think that the U.S. Army of all places would actually invest in some proper vetting, but nope. Inadequacy, screw-ups, and zero political knowledge of anything in the Trump era is totally accepted by many in this admin. Under this Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, there have been several instances of either him or the Army promoting anti-Trump leftists on their official social media channels. Are we supposed to believe the Army couldn't find a Republican and U.S.-born soldier? They had to find an immigrant who voted for Hillary Clinton and spoke at the DNC as Obama's guest.
Yeah, remember, anyone who's a Democrat is an anti-Trump leftist.
Leftist, yep.
At minimum, that's who we are. Loomer was criticized widely for her comments, most pointedly by Marjorie Taylor Greene, which led the Florida representative to realize that the influencer, Laura Loomer, had blocked her on X.
Of course. This is Laura Loomer again. I'm Laura Loomer for the day, people.
Yes.
Not
and
really.
There's a lot of Christian stuff coming up, so I think you're the best. Bible bitch is best suited to talk about the Christian messages.
Again, Laura Loomer isn't allowed in the White House.
That's right.
She does all this from Twitter. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Trump reads her tweets. And she is the de facto HR department of the White House. If she tells Twitter this person needs to be fired because they're not loyal enough, Trump fires them.
He does.
So here is Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting about Laura Loomer. Of course, what a coward. I looked her up after I heard she attacked Medal of Honor recipient Florent Groberg, who risked his own life to heroically save his military brothers from a suicide bomber. What was hero Florent Groberg's Loomer crime? Nothing, Greene wrote Monday on X. He spoke at a Democrat convention, but Laura Loomer has zero respect or reverence for even the most heroic people in America. Ask any veteran military member and American, no one cares about his politics. The man was willing to die to save others from a suicide bomber. Shut up, Laura.
And of course, telling Laura Loomer to shut up always works. Yeah, it always works. She realizes the extent of her shame and she shuts up. Greene attached a screenshot of Loomer's blocking her post to prove that, yes, this woman is screaming at her on X and blocks her from replying, which, believe me, this one point I fully understand.
Oh.
Having been blocked by some of the most important never-Trumpers in America.
Oh, you've been blocked by a lot of people. Okay, so here's more Marge tweeting. Laura Loomer will lie about and slander the best people in order to rip apart other Republicans she is trying to destroy. Many people are asking who or what government or what intelligence agency has bankrolled the twice-failed congressional candidate Laura Loomer all these years. Greene continued, because she has never had a real job. She is not legally allowed to own a gun. And she spends 100% of her time trying to funnel her lies and manipulated propaganda to the President of the United States. Many people, listen to that. Many people need to wake up about her reporting, researching facts, and then spinning them into lies to serve her agenda doesn't make her good or trustworthy. It makes her a liar, and it makes her dangerous, unquote. And I got to say, Charlie Pierce is rooting for injury, but he also had to side with Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is kind of, difficult.
It causes, as Counselor Troy would say, I sense great pain.
I sense great pain.
I sense great pain. There's a lot of, but they're cracking up.
Yeah.
So what's really going on here? Well, we're going to take a quick pivot from this weirdo girl fight in Dracula's castle over to what the terminally online incel MAGA troll named Gunther Eagleman was shrieking about this week, and I wouldn't mention him except for the fact that he has 1.5 million followers on Elon Musk's Nazi chat board. And see if you can figure out what's going on here from Mr. Eagleman's attack on, John Thune. Quote, our Senate leader John Thune decided to take a 6 weeks vacation instead of getting Trump's nominees confirmed. Now he is stopping Trump from recess appointments. John, because we're on a first-name basis now, John also refuses to censure or remove proven liar Adam Schiff from committee assignments. The SAVE Act is still sitting on his desk, but now he's enjoying you funding him on his vacation. And then in all caps, time for new leadership in the Senate, unquote, because all caps is now all anyone. So you got it? Compliant MAGA footstool John Thune, in the opinion of Mr. Eagleman, might as well be a goddamn Democrat for all the good he's doing. And there's a brave Twitter user or bot, I'm not sure which, but it is accurate, named White House X-Ray, who fact-checks these things, and this was their reply, quote, a curious script. Blame the Senate for a vacation they canceled to manage a crisis the White House manufactured. This isn't a leadership failure in Congress. This is a hostage situation directed from the Oval Office. The facts are inconvenient. On August 1st, Thune noted the administration submitted 1,000 executive branch nominations, a volume he called not a sustainable practice. This came right after Trump's demand to cancel the recess. The admin created an impossible logjam and now blames the traffic cop. When government by ultimatum fails, the next step is to sell the wreckage as a conspiracy. I like that. Sell the wreckage as a conspiracy, unquote.
Yep.
So what's going on here are fascist purity tests, fascist loyalty tests. Who is the most obedient to the whims of the dear leader today? Because they could change 180 degrees by tomorrow. Who does the dear leader love most?
And I want to know who's hidden in those 1,000 executive branch nominations that Trump obviously wants the Senate to be so overwhelmed that they just
pass them through,
approve them all at once.
How many J6 traitors are in those numbers? Yeah.
Right.
And when there's no check on how far the madness of purity tests, the ratchet can be cranked, well, you all know how this ends, right?
Right. So this is from the documentary series The Power of Nightmares from 20 years ago. I'm sure many people have watched that. About another purity cult that finally hit its end point.
The main Islamist group in Algeria, the GIA, ended by being led by a Mr. Zouabri, a chicken farmer who killed everyone who disagreed with him. He issued a final communique declaring that the whole of Algerian society should be killed. with the exception of his tiny remaining band of Islamists. They were the only ones who understood the truth.
So if you're even moderately sane, at this point you're probably asking yourself, how the hell is anyone except the completely brain-dead Republican base still sticking with Trump? Trump's fascism is now out in the open. He's using violence to control the narrative against American citizens.
Yeah, openly, plainly, happily.
And everyone can see that Project 2025 was the playbook from day one.
Yeah. And we all knew it, and we all said it, and we were right. Now, I admit I get my pro-Trump and Trump-adjacent dude bro information secondhand because there is no amount of money in this world that could make me listen to that garbage in full all the time. Although, make me an offer. Let's find out, shall we? Now, these are the influencers who speak to hundreds of thousands of uninformed dopes every day, usually about sports or wrestling, but there's always politics on the side, whose livelihoods depend on staying on side with Donald Trump. But these are the same dopes who built their brand on the Epstein mythology. And now that it's clear to everyone that Trump is pulling out all the stops to block the release of the Epstein files and throwing out every distraction he can think of to get these people to stop talking about the Epstein files, the dude bros are looking for a way out where they can keep their audience and the money, but also not get destroyed by the MAGA mob they've been feeding for almost a decade.
Yep.
And it sure looks like a lot of these dude bros are slant drilling their particular rabbit holes so fast they're going to end up sharing David Brooks's Both Sides Do It bunker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has that place well appointed. There's a lot of good furniture in there, plenty of beer, because now that mopes like Joe Rogan have been slapped out of their smug coma by Trump, snatching people off the streets or rigging the markets or demanding tribute for special tariff carve-outs very publicly, or waging war on simple arithmetic, they're lapsing into that oldest and laziest of wingnut asshole defensive lies. The one that we've been podcasting about for 15 years, and I've been blogging about for 20 years. This is the worst and most toxic lie of all because it not only all but destroyed honest journalism in this country, but it's also given the right a nearly impregnable firewall that they can keep on hand for times just like these. And I know I've told this story before on this podcast, but I'm going to tell it again in abbreviated form. I used to work with a lot of manufacturers who were very conservative people up in the Chicago area. Very, very conservative people. People who thought the John Birch Society had some really good ideas. And I'd get emails from them. This is during the Obama administration, before Trump ever showed up. I got emails of Obama in his swim trunks and Putin bare-chested on horseback, telling me this is what real leadership looks like. Not that skinny pussy in his shorts, but a man on a horse, white guy on a horse. That's what leadership looks like. I get emails about Muslims blocking New York City streets, trying to stop traffic and destroy America. And I would reply back after 90 seconds of research that no, that's Muslims at prayer in New York, in an area that they had already set aside years ago for that disrupts no one. Oh, well, what about this picture of Bill Clinton in blackface, huh? Your hero, Bill Clinton in blackface. Again, 10 seconds of research. That's not Bill Clinton. That's someone who looks vaguely like Bill Clinton. Here's the source. Well, that's Soros, isn't it? Soros. That's Jew money paying for that nonsense. Okay, here's 5 more sources. And then they change the subject. And after about 6 of these in a row of lie, blatant, stupid lies pulled off of some, screaming eagle patriot chat board,
right,
sent along to me to prove that I was blah, blah, blah. I'd ask the question. This happened about every 5 or 6 times, which is like, look, you've sent me 5 lies in a row, and I've debunked every one of them, and you've changed the subject every time. Why are you still listening to people that you know are lying to you? Why are you doing this? Isn't it obvious that these people, why do you still trust these people? And what's the answer I got every fucking time?
Democrats are just as bad.
Democrats are just as bad. Both sides. All politicians lie. Democrats just as bad, even worse, because you're communists. So they really don't fucking care about the lies they tell. It's just this barrage of bullshit they put up to keep from facing the fact that they are a cancer on this country. They are the fucking problem. And getting rid of them is the only way to save this country, electorally, I mean. And I did this for years, and it never did a lick of good. So when people talk about, reaching out to the right, maybe blah, 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 fine. Go waste your time doing that. I tried. I gave it my best. Before Trump was even a glimmer in their eye, they were doing this shit. This goes back to way before Donald Trump, which is why the nonsense you hear from Never Trumpers about this all starting in 2016 is just bullshit. It's ass-covering bullshit.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely. I wrote a post this week at Crooks and Liars about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Who was saying, I know all these charges against Democrats are good for my traffic, you know, and that makes me happy and everything. But really, if there aren't some serious indictments of big names from my buddies in the DOJ, and I'm talking to them right now as he's podcasting on Rumble, you know, we got to have real indictments because this paperwork that's come out from Tulsi Gabbard is really important. You know, and I have my litany that I cut and paste of Benghazi, Solyndra, Burisma, tan suit, on and on.
And you know, the first orgasm these people had in their post old age was Clinton being impeached.
Right.
That got them so excited. And do you remember? I remember distinctly being Republicans being asked at town hall meetings, "Why haven't you impeached Obama yet?"
Right.
Not
when are you going to get rid of him?
And it's like, well, we're working on it. We're looking into some stuff. And that's why when Trump comes along and says, you know, my guys in Hawaii are looking at stuff and you wouldn't believe what they're finding.
Yeah.
They were more than willing to go along with this because they were pre-programmed to believe lying racist bullshit, which is the great big lie of the Republican base that every conservative who worked for a prestigious magazine or newspaper lied about their entire career.
Well, and I can top that and bring in your favorite bugaloo. Is that the right word?
Bugaboo? Not bugaloo. Yeah. Bugaloos were a band.
Remember that time on PBS NewsHour when David Brooks said that Barack Obama had a relatively scandal-free administration?
Yeah, I do.
The right lost their frickin' minds.
What about Burisma? What about the tan suits and the mustard?
What about Solyndra? Mm-hmm. What about...
Well, there used to be a Jon Stewart montage, which is, of course, is Comedy Central, but it was like 2 minutes after Obama's elected, the right lost his fucking mind about fascism is coming to America. And it was this long 5-minute, bullshit of them completely freaking out because a black Democrat had been elected to the White House. Mm-hmm. And this was the breeding ground that Republicans spent decades creating that made Trump possible. And that's why you don't hear conversations on any of your favorite podcasts, except maybe this one, and certainly not on MSNBC, about how we got to where we are. Right. It's just, here we are, what do we do? Well, that's fine. That's a good conversation to have. But curing the problem involves diagnosing it correctly, and they desperately want to avoid diagnosing it correctly because it means they were all fucking complicit, and the legacy media was complicit as well.
Absolutely. And I remember Jon Stewart saying, okay, Hannity, you need to make up your mind. Either Obama is incompetent, feckless, and unqualified to be president, or he's history's worst mastermind.
Right. And they don't need to because their base are reprogrammable meatbags. Yeah. By the way, thank you to Charlie Pierce.
Yeah.
For giving me a shout out on his.
And he linked to you. That was very nice. Also, we want to thank Bob Cesca for having us on yesterday.
Yeah.
That show is linked in our show notes. And also, it's all over Blue Sky. You can go search Blue Sky for Bob Cesca.
We're everywhere.
He's promoted it, and I've reposted it and so forth.
By the way, to loop back to the Bugaloos.
Yeah.
I believe the Bugaloos were in the air and everywhere. I believe that was another fine product from the people that created HR Puffin stuff.
Hanna-Barbera something, right?
Yeah. Sid and Marty Krofft, I believe.
Sid and Marty Krofft did the Bugaloos. Yeah.
The Bugaloos, they're in
and
the air.
And they were a band. Yeah. I think that's right. That's right. All right. Look, this is something we talked about with Bob Cesca yesterday. The left's reputation for being condescending twits who use big words. And that's why ordinary Americans feel they have no choice but to side with the fascists.
No choice.
Because the big words are condescending. Because they have had it burned into their brains by decades of legacy media repetition that both sides are equally bad and Democrats are maybe a little bit worse. Besides, I want to vote for somebody who's not a politician.
I don't want a politician.
No.
With all their
as
fancy
I've said
talk.
many times, you need to have your teeth drilled by not a dentist. I appreciate someone who doesn't want to elect somebody who's corrupt, but then you voted for Trump 3 times, didn't you?
He's not corrupt. He's sent by God to straighten this country out.
You're an asshole. That's what happens. Okay. So a result of all of this is you have dudebro influencers like Ben Shapiro weeping bitter tears because according to them, we're stuck swinging back and forth between commie kleptocracy on the left and crony capitalism with a mild frisson of fascism on the right. And yeah, sure, it sucks that these are their only two choices. And maybe Trump's going a little too far in some areas. Mm-hmm. But better Trump and all his faults than condescending commie kleptocrat twits who are Democrats.
That's right. We all are. We all are ultra-lefty leftingtons. Mm-hmm.
But are we Democrats actually condescending commie kleptocrat twits who use big words? And where exactly are these millions of ordinary Americans having run-ins with condescending polysyllabic twits that are so fucking traumatic that they just have to vote for the fascists every single time? Because it makes me cry to hear those big words.
It's so sad.
Even though they don't really want to vote for fascists. We have no choice.
No. Really. Show me on the American flag where you ran into an army of fast-talking, condescending commie twits that was so traumatizing that you have no choice to vote for obvious fascists. The truth is, they're not. Because 99.8% of the Democrats are not condescending commie kleptocrat twits. Now, I know I am. That's me.
Okay.
That's who I am.
There's one. Driftglass is one.
And I'm an elitist. I'm a proud elitist. I think smart people should rule over stupid people. That's just my rule of thumb. But no one on the right knows who the hell I am. So
but
I have a
trauma. You do use a lot of polysyllabic words in your podcast, in your blogging, Driftglass.
I do. But remember, as I said, no one on the right ever heard of me.
Yeah.
No one on the right knows who the hell I am. So I'm not the problem. Clearly, people like me exist, but we're not the problem. Instead, what they're echoing are decades of successful nut-picking by the right, amplified by their huge propaganda machine and the legacy media's equally huge platforms. And in case you're unfamiliar with the term, this is from the Rational Wiki. It's a great term, and I plan to use it much more in conversation going forward. Quote, nut-picking is the fallacious tactic of picking out or showcasing the nuttiest members of a group as the best representatives of that group, hence picking the nut. This fallacy is committed when an arguer cherry-picks a poor representative of a group and uses as an ad hominem attack against them. For example, anti-feminists frequently paint people who support feminism as feminazis by highlighting examples of ridiculous or cringeworthy behavior from selected individuals rather than critiquing points addressed in the mainline feminist writings, unquote.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. About fairness.
Right.
And bodily autonomy and equality. Yes.
Exactly.
No, it's just look at this nutty whatever.
Feminazi. They're feminazis.
Right, and it's a feminazi. In other words, every movement has crazies, but not every movement is crazy. The proper questions are, does this movement promote crazy? And does this movement have proportionately more crazy? Mm-hmm. The word is cleverly both a variation on the word cherry picking and a portmanteau of nut and nitpicking, coined by Mother Jones blogger Kevin Drum, and is thus sometimes called Kevin's Law or Drum's Law, unquote. Mm-hmm. If the example that Rational Wiki uses feminazis rings a bell, it should, and I think a lot of you know where it came from. This is from the New York fucking Times, December 10th, 1994. Mm-hmm. That's a long time ago, Driftglass.
Very long time ago.
Quote, Republicans get a pep talk from Rush Limbaugh. To all the advice for the new Republicans coming to Congress, add this from Rush Limbaugh. A hostile press corps lurks inside the Beltway. You will never, ever be their friends, the talk show host warned most of the 73 Republican freshmen at a dinner here tonight. They don't want to be your friends. Some female reporter will come up to one of you and start batting her eyes and ask you to go to lunch, and you'll think, wow, I'm only a freshman. Cokie Roberts wants to take me to lunch. I've really made it. The audience laughed. Seriously, he added, don't fall for this. It's not time to get moderate. This is not the time to start trying to be liked. The freshman class, which included not a single feminazi, one of Mr. Limbaugh's favorite epithets for supporters of women's rights, whooped and applauded, proving itself one big fan club of the man it believes was primarily responsible for the Republican avalanche in November. unquote.
Now, that's one of my favorite clips to pull out of the archives.
Yeah.
Because this is how long the shit's been going on.
Yep.
Longer. But this is clear evidence on a timeline you could point to and say, this shit was going on hell a long time before Trump ever showed up. And y'all goddamn know it. First, you will notice that Republicans never had a problem casually flinging around the word Nazi when they were slandering women. It wasn't until the GOP finally went full-bore fascist, neo-Nazi, that the right suddenly got real sensitive about using that term. And the legacy media was like, can we really not use that phrase? I mean, fascism is so harsh. Let's not talk about that right now. And second, this article is from more than 30 years ago. You can do the math. And even way back then, libtard, communist, moonbat. You remember the term moonbat, everyone?
I remember moonbat.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Early days of blogging. We were all moonbats back then. Politically correct, snowflake, pointy-headed, all the rest. All the usual slanders against Democrats had already become the common language of Republicans. Way back then, that was still how they talked. Also remember that Limbaugh's idea of humor was playing a blender sound effect whenever a woman defended her right to choose.
And he would nutpick women talking about abortion and put them on the air and run a blender over them.
Blender, because, hey, baby killer, baby killer, baby killer. Mm-hmm. Because the right cannot function without enemies. They need enemies, preferably enemies who can't defend themselves, which is why scumbags like Limbaugh have always punched down, and the meatheads on the right have always fucking loved it. Now, we're going to play a little clip from George Carlin from this era, speaking on the Larry King Show in 1990. In this case, talking about fellow comedian Andrew Dice Clay, whose shtick was being a super misogynist bigot against women and gays in particular.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find unusual, and it's not a criticism so much, but his targets are underdogs. And comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs. And, he ought to be careful because he's Jewish. And a lot of the people who want to pick on these kind of groups, the Jews are on that list a little further. You got women, gays, gypsies, blah, 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 and then suddenly you find Jews. And
suddenly Andrew's arrested.
Yeah, so, obviously he should do what he wants. And
why does he get away with it, do you think, then?
Well,
we have never laughed at jokes about the poor.
He's appealing. I think he's appealing largely. I think his core audience are young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure of their manhood because that's a problem when you're going through adolescence. Could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs and
so that's why we as an audience then will laugh.
You say we. I don't think you're.
No.
But I think you're
collective we.
I think that's what is at the core of that experience that takes place in these arenas is a certain a sharing of anger and rage at these targets. And I'm sure Andrew isn't that angry at them. I'm sure he's playing it as a comic.
All the lies and slanders since then were built on foundation laid by scumbags like Limbaugh and his media imitators and Newt Gingrich and all his political imitators, until with Trump, the line between fascist entertainment and fascist governance was completely erased. And that's where all those decades of nut-picking pay off. However murderously insane the Trump regime becomes, tweaked-out rodents like Ben Shapiro and lumbering meatheads like Joe Rogan will always have the same safe, fail-back position as David Brooks and Brett Stevens of the New York fucking Times.
Right.
However bad the right is, the left is at least as bad, and maybe worse. Mm-hmm. Both sides.
Both sides, baby.
But between the insanity of the escalating purity tests, and those tweets I read, they're up all night doing this.
Shrieking at each other.
Yep.
In public, which is,
also then there's Trump's stupid Watergate and the cover-up of the Epstein files. This is his desperate, flailing effort to cover up what he did with notorious pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. It might actually be possible to break the pattern, if only for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, by the way, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and Candace Owens have spent this month hosting a One Life to Live soap opera about, you said this about me, and I said this about you, but I didn't say that about you. Mm-hmm. But I never talked about you in that scale. And actually, Candace had Nick Fuentes on her show and wound up blaming the Jews for criticizing her.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed that the Jews have a lot wrong with them, you know.
Yep.
All of this, it really is, instead of focusing on any news story, which is always going to point back to the Epstein files, they're having fights and needing to make up and needing to talk it out.
Right.
And have a little drama and soap opera like the Gilded Age, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's mad at who? And, oh, you're mad at me? Well, why don't I have you on my show and we can talk it out? And that's keeping the listeners engaged while not talking about the one story that matters. Is Donald Trump, as I said on Bob Cesca yesterday, Donald Trump had 2 girls under the age of 16 topless on his lap until he ejaculated in his pants. Mm-hmm. And there are apparently, allegedly, Polaroids that Jeffrey Epstein took of that happening. Mm-hmm. And Trump doesn't think, and didn't think then, and doesn't think now that he did anything wrong because he didn't fuck him.
Right. That's right. And that's the ethos that
he's rich. They want to be models. This is the price they pay.
And this is what I get. This is what I get.
I get 14-year-old titty. That's what I get.
That's my reward for being
disgusting.
This guy. And
it's abusive and it's rape.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, it's from the 1950s. And it's what's breaking their brains is trying to pretend that this isn't happening.
Right.
Trump trying to be someone he's not.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not that guy. He is a bitter, dirty old misogynist, racist scumbag.
Yeah.
And trying desperately to pretend, because now he's figured out, oh shit, there's something I did that I can't get away with, that will cost me something. Now I have to cover it up. And he doesn't know how to do that other than throw crazy shit up in the air and hope the press gets distracted. But they're not getting distracted this time.
I had to go to Crooks and Liars, to their Getty account this week, to find a picture of Ghislaine Maxwell that we could use at the site. And we had, Crooks and Liars has a Getty account, so we're not violating copyright of any of the photographs there because we paid for an account. Okay. I am looking through pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell, and there are like 8 of them with Trump.
Yeah.
Which was not a surprise.
No.
What was a surprise to me was she was everywhere in New York society in the early 2000s. She was at Bette Midler's 60th birthday party.
Yeah.
She was at major fundraisers. She was at fashion shows, of course. And all of this rape and trafficking of women, the shade over that covered her crimes was she was looking for models.
Right.
And she got to exploit young women over and over again, and underage girls, children, because of the modeling industry.
Yes.
And the Me Too movement is still out there, and it is not okay. It wasn't okay then, and it's not okay now to abuse children. Yeah, but they want to be models. And this, I've said this many times, everybody failed these girls.
Yes, everyone. Parents, everybody.
Their parents, where were their parents?
Well, and that's what moral people think about this.
Yeah.
That's what normal, moral, decent Christian. I will not use that term. I'll use let me subtract that term. Normal, moral, decent atheists, normal, moral, decent Buddhists and Jews, and so on and so forth, all think that industry is bad and abusive. But none of those people built an entire media career out of talking about the secret files behind that industry.
Right.
That's what the right did. The right built themselves a giant nuclear reactor that's powered by rumors about Epstein files, and we're going to break into that thing. We're going to expose everybody. It's going to be fucking awesome. And the man they put in charge of opening the door and turning out all those freaks into the sunlight, let them burn, is desperately trying to cover it all up.
Yep.
And they cannot pretend he's not doing that, so they need to invent other shit to talk about, which is why I wrote a post this week called 100 Shells a Minute Until They Surrender, and subtitled All Epstein All the Time. What Major General Alfred Terry and Rear Admiral David Porter did with shot and shell to take Fort Fisher in January of 1865, we must do to the Trump administration with words, pictures, music, formal speeches, letters to the editor, protests, signs, buttons, and votes in the House, the Senate, and state houses across the country. Continuous, relentless bombardment. Of course, once Trump's hold on power is disrupted even slightly, all the grifters and collaborators who want a future in politics after Trump is gone will be looking for the lifeboats, and it'll be our job to burn those lifeboats.
Burn the lifeboats, folks.
Burn the lifeboats.
No rebranding. No third way. No tea party. No coffee filter party. It's a joke.
And I will tell you what's going to happen, in my humble opinion. A bunch of these people are not going to wash up on the liberal shores looking for shelter.
No.
They're going to wash up at the Bulwark. And they're going to wash up at Morning Joe. They're going to wash up at the Lincoln Project. And those people will decide that they are now the gatekeepers of who's acceptable to be brought back into the political fold, because they would like their own political party, because they don't like us very much. They are really sick of having to hang out with the liberals. And so they will harvest the dross from the MAGA movement to build their own political fortunes and finally get back to doing what they love doing, which is hating people like us.
Yeah. And there will be a billionaire to fund them.
There will be at least 2 billionaires to fund them, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a news round, because let's cheer up and move on to a news roundup.
Let's cheer up and talk about the news.
All right. From Patriot Takes, the owner of Trump Burger in Houston is now facing deportation.
KHOU 11 confirming the owner of Trump Burger Restaurants, which has several locations in the Houston area, has been arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and now faces deportation. ICE says Roland Biani, a 28-year-old from Lebanon, overstayed his visa after entering the U.S. back in 2019. He was taken into custody in May and is now out on bond as he awaits immigration proceedings. In a statement sent to KHOU 11, an ICE spokesperson told us, quote, under the current administration, ICE is committed to restore integrity to our nation's immigration system by holding all individuals accountable who illegally enter the country or overstay the terms of their admission. This is true regardless of what restaurant you own or political beliefs you may have.
We are very much enjoying Gavin Newsom's new all-caps trolling strategy. I have a lot of problems with Gavin Newsom's podcast, but what he's doing, showing what Trump does regularly on social media and making the media admit that they look the other way at that, but will look at his and be outraged, is very good.
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
This is from the Governor Newsom press office. Again, all caps, all the time. Quote, wow, tomorrow history will be made. Caroline Levitt will have no answers for the supposed fake media about California's beautiful maps. People are saying... They know what they're doing when they wrote this. People are saying they are the greatest maps ever created, even better than Christopher Columbus's. Donald the Failure Trump, be warned, tomorrow may be the worst day of your life, all because you, quote, missed the deadline, unquote. Liberation Day for America, GCN. And, quote, Donnie J. and Caro Lyon Levitt will have their little hands full today. Whoops, Gavin Christopher Newsom, America's favorite governor, many say, will host the greatest press conference of all time. After that, the maps will soon be released. Very much anticipated, unquote.
I really like that.
And the only thing that Trump could do is have ICE agents outside the press conference.
Yes, which they did.
Threatening people.
Which they did, yeah.
But it was a great press conference. Go and look it up on the socials.
Yeah.
Announcing that we are not bystanders in history. We are taking action.
Yeah, yeah. And we very much are echoing that in the great state of Illinois as well.
Yep.
So our governor, with our awesome governor. Now, some bad news, Blue Gal. Another heartbroken member of the MAGA elite. This is from Crooks and Liars. Poor Maria Bartiromo. Quote, earlier today on Fox Business, a depressed MAGA queen, Maria Bartiromo, was forced to give Trump the news of the data showing a spike in producer-level inflation. Oh, no. Wholesale prices rose much more than expected in July. CNBC reports that the Dow Jones estimate of 0.2% in gain, but instead it was a 0.9% gain, the largest increase since June of 2022.
This is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes Trump has made since January 20th, since he was inaugurated this time around. When you take away data collection in the United States government and make it untrustworthy, any data that comes from the administration or from the Labor Department, if it's untrustworthy, Trump forgot that there are a whole bunch of organizations and Wall Street investment groups who have access to data.
Yes.
Like Dow Jones, like CNBC.
Yeah.
And they will come out with data that contradicts the president.
That's right.
Their money depends on that data being accurate.
Well, and then you get into the problem of once you tell the lie that everything is getting better when it's not, you have to chase that number up the scale.
Yeah.
Because, comrade, every 5-year plan must be better than the last 5-year plan.
Right.
Even as crops are dying in the field and the peasants are starving to death, this is the greatest improvement since blah, blah, blah. And at some point, very quickly, since there are alternate sources of information, everyone notices that everything they're saying is bullshit. And it's bullshit about things that affect people's pocketbooks, their ability to buy food.
People going to the grocery store notice that he's lying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can lie. You can chase a lie, but you have to keep compounding it because things always have to get better or else you're not winning all the time.
Well, he said today that we had perfect inflation.
We do. Perfect. Because his
what
brain
happens
is,
when the inflation changes? It's not perfect anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter because nobody who follows him remembers anything.
Remembers 5 minutes ago.
That's this, and we've said this on the Seska show. We've said it here too.
Yeah.
He's not magic. His magic formula is the mob, the mob of brain dead morons and racists who think he was sent by Jesus to save America from people like us.
And they don't remember what he said 2 minutes ago.
No, they remember what happened 28 years ago. They remember that America was better in 1951 for some fucking reason, but they don't remember what he said 2 minutes ago because that makes their little brains hurt, which is why all over local Facebook, where I do follow local wingnuts, they're just throwing everything they can at the wall. They're screaming about homeschooling. They're screaming about prices. Obama's a traitor. They're everything but Epstein.
Yeah.
And they're desperate to make it all go away, make the crimes they've committed disappear. And they're never going to disappear. And
around here, they're blaming Pritzker for everything.
Oh, yeah.
The price of eggs is Pritzker's fault.
Yeah, everything is Pritzker's fault. And we have to depose him somehow. I didn't bring this into our local news. I'll maybe bring it up next week. But Darren Bailey, the
Darren Bailey,
who ran against him and got clobbered in the last election, has many things to say about the failed Pritzker administration that make, the 9 wingnuts who follow Darren Bailey.
I'm sure Trump thinks Darren Bailey has a very high IQ, probably perfect.
Perfect. He has a perfect IQ.
So this is from NBC News, quote, President Donald Trump's pick to run the Bureau of Labor Statistics was among the crowd outside the Capitol on January 6, 2021, with the White House saying he was a bystander who wandered over after seeing coverage on the news.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me he wasn't patriot enough to break in?
I was going to say.
What kind of pussy is that?
Patriot?
What kind of snowflake pussy is that? Like, you wouldn't go
walking over as a bystander. Come on.
Save America. Why wasn't he chanting "Hate
Why
Mike
wasn't
Pence?
he trying to save America that day?
That's what I want to know. I'd like answers.
Why would you walk away from that?
I think he was looking for the Epstein.
His name is E.J. Antony, an economist from the Heritage Foundation, nominated by Trump this week, after the president fired the previous BLS head, appears in numerous videos posted on social media of the crowd on the Capitol grounds, unquote. And Driftglass, I heard you say that some people say he was chanting "Hang Mike Pence."
That's what I heard, but he couldn't have been.
Maybe
because
not. Who knows?
Why would you downgrade this great patriot to a mere bystander? He was breaking into the Capitol looking for the Epstein files because
he was pooping on the floor.
Looking for the Epstein files.
Yeah.
They were looking for the Epstein files.
Yeah, they wanted the Epstein files. Have you heard that Trump is all over the Epstein files?
I've heard that he's all over the Epstein like
I heard
a rash.
That his attorney general told him that in May.
Yeah. I heard that his vice president has seen the Epstein files because he has to, because he's talking about the Democrats who are in the Epstein files. So he must have seen what's in there.
The Democrats are in the Epstein files also.
Yeah. Let's move on from that. This is from Salon. Quote, Meta, formerly known as Facebook, lets AI chatbot creep on young children. Internal documents reviewed by Reuters show Meta's AI guidelines permitted sexual conversations with minors, unquote.
And not in a sex ed kind of way,
no,
apparently.
On the right, it's pedos all the way down.
Yeah. From the Washington Post, quote, the FBI fired several senior agents who had worked on investigations involving Trump or his allies, because that's what fascists do, including former acting director Brian Driscoll and Washington Field Office Chief Stephen Jensen. Driscoll, who briefly led the Bureau in early 2025, resisted Justice Department demands to name agents involved in the Jan 6 investigation, because they were just doing their job, folks.
That's right.
Last night, I was informed that tomorrow will be my last day in the FBI. No cause has been articulated at this time. I regret nothing, Driscoll wrote to staff, unquote.
Excellent. And from Axios about the very same FBI, but months later, quote, the FBI agreed to help Texas law enforcement find about 50 Democratic legislators who left to block a Trump-backed redistricting plan that would add 5 additional Republican House seats, unquote.
And from the Daily Beast, my favorite story of the week, Thirsty Trump's desperate cold call about Nobel Peace Prize. A Norwegian official confirmed that MAGA figurehead's long-suffering bid to win the Nobel Peace Prize has sunk to an all-new low, unquote. Donald Trump cold calling Norway to beg for a Nobel because Obama got one.
Yeah, that's humiliating. But, you know,
it is ridiculous.
These people don't have normal human emotion. In local news, this is local to Illinois, but it affects the entire country. This is from a gentleman named Clifford Ando, and it's addressed to the classicists. This is regarding a pause or termination, of graduate study in classics at the University of Chicago, a very prestigious university right here in beautiful state of Illinois. Quote, dear colleagues, I write to inform the field that the Dean of Humanities at the University of Chicago is pausing graduate admissions in all departments that require language study, except it appears Chinese. She herself is an English professor and seems to feel strongly that modern education should focus substantively on North America and only on topics that can be studied in English, like the art of the deal. The Division of Arts and Humanities at Chicago has gone full-blown MAGA. At best, the dean and other leaders of the University of Chicago are happily invoking the Trump assault on higher education as an excuse to perform actions that they were already planning. The pause in doctoral education in classics, comparative literature, Germanic studies, Middle Eastern studies, Romance languages and literature, and South Asian studies is accompanied by the formation of a committee whose formal charge includes the questions, can the committee identify languages that we no longer need to teach? Can the committee identify languages that we can offer every other year? Are there languages that we could teach by sending students physically to other universities or virtually to Zoom? Is there language teaching that we can do via ChatGPT? And that's the saddest sentence of all, I think.
Yep.
Although the action related to the doctoral education is labeled as a pause, I see no reason to think that we would resume doctoral education if we are simultaneously dismantling the curricula that sustain undergraduate training in these fields. Why would one have a doctoral program in a discipline that undergraduates can't even study? Unquote. Very good question. There were lots of responses. All of them were like, how the hell could you do this? This was typical. Quote, did anyone tell the University of Chicago that they are the University of Chicago? They have an entire Oriental Institute and so many other language-based resources, unquote, which is true. And I've been to the Oriental Institute, and it's unique, and it's beautiful, and they do amazing things there. They have a century of amazing scholarship, and they're pissing it all away. And just for the record, public records show that at the end of fiscal year 2024, June 30th, 2024, the University of Chicago's endowments stood at $10.4 billion, with an 8.4% return on investments for that year. So money ain't the issue, Blue Gal.
Yep, money ain't the issue. Each week we post to our Patreon page and website an internet kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's internet kitty is Sugarfoot.
Oh.
A mostly black cat with white paws and whiskers. Listener Danny sent us Sugarfoot and noted that she is the most precious kitty ever. She loves hunting moths and chasing bees, but her favorite pastime is debunking right-wing bullshit. Danny adds, I love you guys so much. Thank you for all you do. It means a lot to a tiny blue dot in a red ocean of hate down here in the South. We love you right back, Danny, and we love Sugarfoot.
We do.
We do. And of course, Sugarfoot eats freshly poured cat food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your cat will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
And you can visit Sugarfoot at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can write to both of us. Don't forget, if you're sending us an internet kitty or dog or iguana or whatever you're sending us, please put the words internet kitty in the subject line. That's how I find your internet pet. Feel free to write us. We do love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email, or U.S. Postal Service, go postal unions. Letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
And now, a friendly reminder about our gourmet coffee guideline. If you are able to treat yourself to an espresso-based beverage, we ask that you consider treating us to one as well. This isn't a charity. This is how we support the work that we do. If you can spare just $5 a month or more, we'd be very grateful for your support at patreon.com/proleftpod. You can also help us by continuing to grow by sharing our show on social media. If you love this podcast, introduce it to a friend. Go on a date. Say, hey, how about listening to what I'm listening to? Share an earbud with a friend. That's how relationships are built. Thank you so much for helping us keep this craziness going. We do appreciate it.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the internet kitties doing this week?
Look, all the internet kitties are exhausted from a long day of testing gravity to ensure that it still works.
Yeah, can we talk about our cat Olive and corn husks?
Oh God, yeah. I never knew. It's like suddenly discovering that someone you know has a really weird habit that isn't necessarily immoral, but it's creepy, and you never knew they had it. Our cat Olive.
He's your cat, Olive.
My cat Olive, the one who jumps on my chest and bangs my chin with his head and purrs and says, let's watch TV. Let's go watch TV right now.
He likes to watch TV with you.
Anytime I make a lap, he's on it. We'll go nuts for corn husks. And, we are living in corn country. As the cornfield resistance, there's a lot of corn going around.
It's getting to be the season for really good human-eating corn. As Middlechild will say, other parts of the country have cow corn. We have people corn.
We have people corn, and it's damn good. And
it's very good. So Driftglass husks the corn and cooks it for dinner.
Yep.
But those corn husks
come out of the trash. I put them in the trash.
He knocks over the trash can to get a corn husk.
And yesterday, when I was in the basement doing some basement business, I heard a ka-thump from the first floor. I came upstairs, and there was an ear of corn on the floor. This cat had jumped onto the stove, walked across the counter, knocked the ear of corn on the floor so he could chew on the husk. He doesn't care about the corn. He just wants to chew on that husk, that sweet, sweet husk. So we've reached rapprochement. We've reached a compromise, which is I will bust the corn up and get it ready for preparation, and I will toss a few husks on the floor as if this were a hillbilly barn in the 1820s. And Olive will come right along and just like, nom, 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 nom. And okay, fine. It's a thing you do. I don't disapprove.
It's like eating grass, I guess.
Yeah, except we have plenty of grass, and he doesn't go for that.
No, it's something. It's something
about the texture and the flavor, I think.
Yeah,
because this is also
I agree, the crunchiness of the greenery.
All of your plastic knitting bags are always at risk from the same.
He loves the edge of Ziploc bags. Yes, he likes to chew on those, and he perforates them.
Yes. So
he doesn't eat those though. I think he's eating part of the corn husk.
Yes. And then we find little shreds of corn husks laying around, and I clean them up, as is my job, because we just work for the cats.
I just have to say, thank God Olive lives in the Midwest where there's people corn with cat husks.
Available everywhere,
to him.
At all times. I mean, I could go out right now with a machete and get in trouble and stop by the side of the road not a mile from here and bring home 20 years
there are
of
cornfields within walking distance of our house.
Yeah, we're not kidding.
Big cornfields. Yeah.
Which generate, as you know, corn sweat, which is going to come back to haunt us in the next 5 days. Going to get back up into the 90s and 100s. Yeah. So, but this is,
this was bonus content to everybody. I just wanted you to have this.
Yeah. we have lives that are full of interesting details that involve cats and their great love of good. Neither other cat wants anything to do with corn.
I know. That's the amazing thing. We have 3 cats, and only one of them wants to eat the corn husks.
All the time. One is
all the time.
One is
knocks
an older
over
gentleman.
the trash can in the kitchen to get a corn husk.
One is an older gentleman who will just walk around and have a little food, and he will occasionally come up to me and start smacking me on the leg, which means it's time to stop whatever I'm doing and comb out his fur, since he sheds a great deal and it's uncomfortable. So, but he will come up to me and meow loudly and tap me on the leg. And if I say not right now, he'll keep tapping, not harsh, just like, I'm reminding you, I'm your supervisor, and this is time to do this. This is the same cat who also, between 11 and 11:12 every night, suddenly decides it's party time.
It's party time after 11.
Don't know why. It just happens.
All the other cats have to come out in the living room or he'll howl.
And of course, Bosco just wants someone to put food in his mouth all day long.
All day long, and mine his crypto.
Right. But no corn husks. He has nothing to do with corn husks, but he will eat whatever you put in front of him. And he's on drugs. He's on a couple of drugs. So
yeah, for his thyroid
and diabetes. But but we love them all. They're all weirdos. We have a weirdo house, and whenever we need the kids to feel that they're not too far from home, that there's still a house here for them. Yeah. We send them cat pics.
We send them cat pictures just about every day.
Aw, that's part of my job.
That's what they miss most about home.
Yeah. The cats, because they all each have a claim on one of them.
All right. So next Tuesday is our 14th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
And we will be off that day, but we will talk to you on next Thursday. Uh-huh. And we've also got the Bill Show coming up later in the month, and we're excited about that. So
yes, indeed.
We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional F podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.